The message arrived on Earth at exactly midnight. It came through the quantum relay that connected humanity to the rest of the galaxy. The words were simple and cold. The 12 elder races wanted to speak with a human. Just one. They wanted answers. Admiral Sung-Ho Beak read the message 3 times. He was an old man with white hair and tired eyes. He had seen many things in his 60 years of life. He had fought in the Mars Rebellion. He had watched the first contact with alien life. But this message made his hands shake. The 12 elder races had ruled the galaxy for 10,000 years. They were ancient. They were powerful. They had technologies that made human science look like children playing with toys. And they had never, not once, asked to speak with a human before until now. Sung-Ho called an emergency meeting of the United Earth Council. Leaders from every nation gathered in the Great Hall in Geneva. They sat in a circle and stared at the message on the central screen. Nobody spoke for a long time. "They want to know about the Void Reapers," said Minister Ji-Wan Choi. She was a small woman with sharp eyes. That is the only explanation. Everyone in the room knew about the Void Reapers. 6 months ago, these terrible creatures had attacked 3 star systems near human space. The Reapers were parasites. They fed on the minds of living beings. They left nothing behind but empty bodies and screaming silence. The elder races had fought the Reapers for 300 years. They had lost 17 worlds. They had built walls of warships and weapons of terrible power. Nothing worked. The Reapers always came back. Then one human ship had gone into Reaper territory. It was a small vessel called the Gentle Dawn. It carried no weapons. It had a crew of 12 people. Their leader was a quiet man named Tae-Woo Kim. 72 hours later, the Void Reapers stopped attacking. They retreated to their home system. They sent a message to every species in the galaxy. It said only this: "We will sleep now. The humans have shown us peace." Nobody knew what happened on that ship. Nobody knew what Tae-Woo Kim had said or done. The elder races had demanded answers then, but Earth had simply said, "We talked to them." Now the elders wanted more. "We should refuse," said General Dong Yunma. He was a large man with a stern face. "This is a trap. They fear us now. They want to know our secrets so they can defend against us. Or destroy us," added another voice. Admiral Beak raised his hand for silence. "If we refuse, they will assume the worst. They will think we have some terrible weapon. They might attack us first out of fear. Then what do we do?" asked Minister Choi. Beak looked at the message again. The elders wanted one human. One representative to stand before the most powerful beings in the galaxy and explain how humanity had done the impossible. "We send someone," he said, "but we choose carefully." The debate lasted 3 days. Some wanted to send a soldier, someone strong who could show human power. Others wanted a scientist, someone smart who could speak their language of logic. A few suggested sending a politician, someone skilled in the art of careful words. In the end, they chose none of these. They chose Yuna Park. Yuna was 34 years old. She had been a combat medic in the Belt Wars, saving lives in the dark spaces between asteroids. After the wars, she became a diplomat. She was not the strongest human. She was not the smartest. She did not have special training in alien, psychology, or galactic law. But she had something else. When the council told her she had been chosen, Yuna did not ask why. She simply nodded and said, "When do I leave?" Admiral Beak visited her the night before her departure. He found her in the observation deck of the orbital station, looking down at Earth. The blue planet glowed in the darkness like a precious stone. "You know what you are walking into," Beak said. It was not a question. "Yes," Yuna replied. "They are afraid of us. They did not understand how we stopped the Reapers. They think we have some secret weapon. Do we?" Yuna smiled. It was a small, sad smile. In a way, I suppose we do. Beak waited for her to explain, but she said nothing more. The elders have ruled the galaxy for longer than human civilization has existed, he said. They see us as children. Dangerous children who somehow tamed a monster they could not defeat. They will try to break you down. They will try to make you reveal everything. I know. And you are not afraid? Yuna turned to look at him. Her eyes were calm. Admiral, I spent 3 years putting dying soldiers back together with nothing but bandages and hope. I held the hands of boys who called for their mothers as they died in the cold dark of space. I have seen what humans can survive. She looked back at Earth. The elders have never truly suffered. They evolved on peaceful worlds. They built their empires with logic and time. They have never been hungry. They have never been hunted. They do not know what it means to fight for every single breath. Beak understood then why the council had chosen her. It was not her skills or her training. It was simply this. Yuna Park knew what it meant to be human. The next morning, she boarded a small ship called the Bright Tomorrow. Her crew was only 4 people. They were all volunteers. They all knew they might not come back. As the ship left Earth's orbit, Yuna watched her home world grow smaller in the viewport. Somewhere out there, the 12 elder races waited. They wanted to understand humanity. Yuna wondered if they were ready for the truth. The station called Harmony Point floated in the light of a dying star. It was old. It was huge. It had been built by races that no longer existed, and now it served as the meeting place for the 12 elder races. Yuna stood at the viewport of the Bright Tomorrow and watched the station grow larger. It was shaped like a flower with 12 petals, each one belonging to a different species. Lights blinked in patterns she could not read. Ships of strange designs moved around it like fish around a reef. We have permission to dock, said Minho Jiang, her second in command. He was a young man with nervous hands. Bay 7. They are sending a guide. Yuna nodded. She had not slept in 2 days. She'd had spent the time reading everything she could about the elder races, their histories, their cultures, their fears. They feared many things, she learned. But mostly, they feared change. The docking was smooth. The bay was large enough to hold 100 human ships. Their small vessel looked like a toy in the empty space. When the doors opened, Yuna stepped out alone. The guide was waiting. It was a creature called a Velith, one of the Soroth people. Its body was made of living crystal, and it shimmered with inner light. It had no face that Yuna could recognize, only smooth surfaces that reflected her own image back at her. Human Envoy, the Velith said. Its voice came from everywhere and nowhere. I am Arbiter Velith. I will take you to the assembly. Thank you, Yuna said. They walked through corridors that changed color as they passed. The air was thin and cold. Yuna saw other beings moving in the distance, but none came close. They watched her with eyes and sensors and things she could not name. She felt their fear like a weight on her skin. The Grand Assembly Hall was the largest room Yuna had ever seen. It was built like a stadium, with platforms rising in circles toward a ceiling that looked like open space. Each platform held a delegation from one of the elder races. She saw the Soroth with their crystal bodies. She saw the Methany, giant insects with clicking mandibles. She saw the Nereid, beings of flowing water held in tanks of shimmering force. She saw races that breathed fire and races that existed only as light. She saw things she had no words for, and all of them were looking at her. Yuna walked to the central podium. Her boots made sounds on the metal floor. Each step echoed in the silence. She could feel her heart beating fast, but she kept her face calm. She had learned long ago that showing fear only made things worse. You are the human envoy, said a voice from above. It was Ambassador Korath of the Metheny. His mandibles clicked as he spoke. "You come alone. You bring no guards, no weapons." "That is correct," Una said. "Is this meant to insult us? To show that you do not fear us?" "No, it is simply efficient. You asked for one human. I am one human." Silence fell. The beings on the platform shifted and whispered to each other in languages Una could not understand. She waited. Arbiter Veloth's crystal form pulsed with pale light. "Human Envoy, you know why you have been summoned. 6 months ago, your species did something that we do not understand. You stopped the Void Reapers. You ended a war that had lasted 3 centuries. Yes, we have asked your leaders for an explanation. They said only that you talked to the Reapers." The words sounded like a curse. "This is not acceptable. You will now tell us the truth." Una looked around the room. She saw the sensors pointed at her. She saw the guards standing in the shadows. She understood then that this was not a diplomatic meeting. They did not want to welcome humanity to the galactic community. They wanted to know if humanity was a threat. They wanted to know if they needed to destroy Earth before it was too late. "Ask your questions," Una said. "I will answer honestly." A murmur went through the assembly. Several delegates seemed surprised. They had expected her to be difficult. They had expected lies and evasions. Honesty was not something they were ready for. The Nereid ambassador spoke next. Her name was Hyjin, though Una did not know if that was a translation or her true name. She floated in her water tank, her form constantly changing like a living wave. "The Void Reapers are psychic predators," Hyjin said. "They feed on minds. They break them apart and consume them. No species has ever survived direct contact with the Reaper Hive Queen. Not even the strongest telepaths among us." She paused. "Yet your Dr. Taiwu Kim spent 49 hours in mental contact with her. He survived. How?" Una took a breath. Here it was. The question they really wanted answered. "Humans are not telepathic," she said. "We cannot project our thoughts or read the thoughts of others. But we can endure. Our minds are built to survive trauma. When the Reaper Queen tried to break Dr. Kim's mind, he did not fight back. He simply remained." "That is impossible," Korath clicked. "The Queen's assault would destroy any consciousness." "It nearly destroyed him," Una admitted. "He spent 49 hours in pain that your translators have no words for. He felt every attack. He experienced every horror the Queen could create. But he did not break. Why?" The question came from a being of pure light that Una could not identify. "Because humans evolved on a world that tried to kill us every day," Una said. "We learned to keep going even when everything hurt. We learned to hold on to ourselves even when everything told us to let go. We call it stubbornness, or hope, or maybe just being too stupid to know when to quit." Nobody laughed. They were staring at her with expressions she could not read. "And then what happened?" Hyjin asked quietly. "Then Dr. Kim did something the Queen did not expect." Una's voice softened. He opened his mind to her. Not to attack, not to defend. He showed her his memories. He showed her what it means to be human. What did he show her? Una thought of the reports she had read, the debriefing sessions, the words of a broken man who had somehow put himself back together. He showed her suffering, she said, and he showed her love. He showed her that humans know pain more deeply than almost any species in the galaxy. And he showed her that we choose to keep loving anyway. The room was silent. Una looked up at the elder races. These ancient beings who had ruled the stars for millennia. The Queen had never met anything like us before. She had fed on fear and pain for centuries. But she had never encountered a species that understood suffering so completely and still chose hope. She paused. She wept. And then she stopped. The silence in the assembly hall was so deep that Yuna could hear her own heartbeat. The elder races stared at her. Some had frozen in place. Others had turned away as if looking at her was too difficult. Arbiter Vella's crystal body had gone dark. When she spoke, her voice was barely a whisper. "You are telling us that your people stopped the Void Reapers with feelings?" "Yes," Yuna said. "With empathy, with understanding, with the willingness to suffer alongside another being." "That is not a weapon," Karth clicked angrily. "That is not strategy. That is madness." "Perhaps," Yuna agreed. "But it worked." Another voice rose from the platforms. It belonged to a being called Harem, a representative of a species that lived as clouds of gas. "You expect us to believe this? The Reapers killed 17 of our worlds. They destroyed civilizations older than your entire species. And you stopped them by crying with them?" "Not crying," Yuna said patiently. "Connecting. There's a difference." She looked around the room at the ancient beings who had gathered to judge her. They had lived for thousands of years. They had conquered physics and bent time to their will. But they had never learned the one thing that humans knew from birth: how to hurt and keep going. "Let me explain something about Earth," Yuna said. "About what we call home." She pressed a button on the podium. A holographic image appeared in the center of the room. It showed a blue planet covered in swirling white clouds. "This is where humans come from. It looks peaceful from space. Beautiful, even. But Earth is what your scientists would call a Category 7 death world." Some of the delegates shifted uncomfortably. They knew about death worlds. They were rare planets where life evolved under constant threat. Most intelligent species came from gentle worlds with stable climates and few predators. Death worlds produce monsters. Earth has temperatures that range from 60 degrees below zero to 60 degrees above, Yuna continued. It has storms that level cities. It has earthquakes that swallow entire regions. It has diseases that can kill millions in months. The images changed. They showed volcanoes erupting, tsunamis crashing against coasts, fires consuming forests. And that is just the planet itself. Earth is also home to millions of species that want to eat us. Predators with teeth and claws. Tiny creatures that live in our blood and kill us from the inside. Poisons hiding in beautiful flowers and delicious fruits. She paused. Every single day of human existence has been a fight for survival. We did not evolve in paradise. We evolved in a war zone. The images faded. Yuna looked directly at the elder delegates. "This is why we are the way we are. Our bodies can survive damage that would kill any of you. We can lose arms and legs and keep fighting. We can go days without sleep, weeks without food. Our hearts keep beating even when our minds want to give up. We have studied your biology," Vela said slowly. "We knew you were resilient. But this does not explain the Reapers." "Yes, it does," Yuna said. "Because our bodies are not the only thing that evolved to survive. Our minds did too." She took a breath. This was the part that was hardest to explain. Humans have a thing called compartmentalization. When we experience pain or trauma, we do not let it consume us completely. We put it in a box. We lock it away. We keep functioning, even when part of us is screaming in agony. "That sounds like insanity," Harem said. "Maybe it is. But it is how we survive." Yuna's voice grew softer. Dr. Taiwu Kim spent 49 hours with the Reaper Queen tearing at his mind. She showed him things no living being should see. She made him feel the death of billions. She tried to break him into pieces. The room was very quiet now. "But humans are already broken," Yuna said. "We are born broken. We live broken. We love and lose and grieve, and somehow get up the next morning anyway. The Queen could not destroy what was already in pieces. She could only add more cracks to a soul that was held together with nothing but stubbornness and hope. And that is when he showed her his memories? Hyjin asked. Yes, he showed her a human child crying because her pet died. He showed her a man working 3 jobs to feed his family. He showed her soldiers carrying wounded enemies to safety because they could not stand to see anyone suffer alone. Yuna's eyes were bright with unshed tears. He showed her a species that had every reason to become monsters. We kill each other. We wage wars. We destroy our own planet. We have done terrible things throughout our history. She looked at the elder races, these beings who had achieved perfection through logic and time. But we also build hospitals in war zones. We run into burning buildings to save strangers. We cross oceans to help people we will never meet. We hold the hands of dying enemies and tell them they are not alone. The silence stretched on. The queen had fed on fear and pain for 300 years, Yuna said. She thought she understood suffering, but she had never encountered a species that knew suffering so intimately and still chose to love. She had never seen beings who broke themselves over and over again and kept putting the pieces back together. Korath's mandibles clicked slowly. What did she say? After your Dr. Kim showed her these things? Yuna smiled. It was a sad smile, full of old pain. She said that in 300 years of feeding on minds, she had never tasted anything like human grief. It was the most beautiful and terrible thing she had ever experienced. And she asked Dr. Kim how humans could bear it. What did he tell her? He told her the truth. Yuna's voice was barely a whisper now. He said, we do not bear it. We carry it. There is a difference. Bearing something means holding it alone. Carrying something means sharing the weight. She looked at Velith. He asked the queen if she would like to share the weight with us, if she would like to stop being alone, and she agreed. She had been alone for 1,000 years, feeding on others because she did not know any other way, destroying minds because she was afraid to connect with them. Yuna paused. She was tired. She was so very tired. And for the first time in her existence, someone offered to be tired with her. The assembly hall was silent. Somewhere in the distance, a system hummed. Lights flickered on the platforms where ancient beings sat in shock. That is how we stopped the Void Reapers, Yuna said. Not with weapons. Not with power. With the one thing humans have that no other species seems to understand. She looked at them all. We know what it means to be broken. And we know that being broken does not mean being alone. For a long moment, nobody moved. The elder races sat on their platforms like statues made of crystal and light and living water. They had asked for the truth. Now they had it, and they did not know what to do with it. Korath was the first to speak. His mandibles clicked rapidly, a sign of distress. This cannot be real. You are lying to us. You must have some weapon, some technology, something we can understand. I have told you the truth, Yuna said simply. The truth is impossible. Korath rose from his platform. His insect body towered 3 meters tall, covered in black armor. No species defeats an enemy through feelings, through sharing pain. This is not how the universe works. It is how humans work, Yuna replied. She did not step back. She did not show fear. She simply looked at the massive creature and waited. Velith's crystal form flickered with agitated colors. Ambassador Korath, please control yourself. The human is under diplomatic protection. Korath's mandibles snapped shut. He returned to his platform, but his compound eyes never left Yuna. In them, she could see something she recognized. It was not anger. It was terror. The being of light called Harem spoke next. Human envoy, let us say we believe you. Let us say your species truly stopped the Reapers through Empathy. What does this mean for us? Yuna considered the question carefully. It means that you have been fighting the wrong war. The Reapers were not monsters. They were lonely. They were afraid. They attacked because they did not know another way. They killed billions, Hyjin said from her water tank. They destroyed entire civilizations. Yes, and that is a tragedy beyond words. I do not excuse what they did. Yuna's voice hardened. But if someone had tried to understand them 300 years ago, maybe those billions would still be alive. The accusation hung in the air. The elder races had fought the Reapers with weapons and walls. They had never tried to talk. They had never asked why. A new voice joined the conversation. It came from a platform in the shadows, where a species Yuna did not recognize sat watching. Human. You say your kind evolved to endure suffering. That your minds survive what would destroy us. This is concerning. Why? Yuna asked. Because it means you are built for war in ways we are not. The chamber fell silent again. Yuna understood what they were really asking. They wanted to know if humanity was dangerous. They wanted to know if Earth was a threat. Let me tell you something else about humans, she said. Something that might help you understand. She pressed another button on the podium. New images appeared. They showed humans running, hunting, tracking prey across endless grasslands. Before we had technology, we were hunters. But we were not fast. We were not strong. We had no claws or fangs or venom. Our only advantage was this. We could keep moving when everything else had to stop. The images showed humans chasing animals across deserts and through forests. We are what is called persistent predators. We would pick a target and follow it for hours, sometimes days. The animal would run and we would walk. It would sprint and we would jog. Eventually, it would collapse from exhaustion. And we would still be coming. She let that sink in. Our bodies do not overheat like other mammals. We can sweat. We can regulate our temperature. We can keep going long after any reasonable creature would have stopped. Korath's mandibles clicked nervously. You hunted by simply not giving up? Yes, and that instinct never left us. Yuna's voice was calm, but her eyes were serious. Humans do not quit. When we set a goal, we pursue it until we succeed or die. Sometimes both. That is terrifying, Hyjin said quietly. It can be. In our history, we have done terrible things because of it. We have hunted species to extinction. We have waged wars that lasted decades. We have destroyed our own world in the pursuit of more. The images changed again. They showed wars and pollution and devastation. The elder races watched in horror. But that same instinct also makes us loyal beyond reason, Yuna continued. When humans choose to protect something, we will chase away any threat no matter how powerful. We will cross oceans and deserts and the void of space itself to save someone we love. She smiled slightly. You call it stubbornness. We call it devotion. The images faded. Yuna looked around the chamber. You want to know if humans are dangerous? Yes, we are the most dangerous species I know. We can endure any pain, survive any hardship, and keep coming no matter what stands in our way. She paused. But you are asking the wrong question. The real question is, what are we dangerous to? Velith's form pulsed slowly. Explain. Humans have spent our entire existence fighting ourselves. We are our own worst enemy. We know this. We see our darkness every day in the mirror. Yuna's voice grew soft. But somewhere along the way, we decided to try to be better. Not because we are good, but because we know exactly how bad we can be. You fight your own nature? Harem asked. Every single day. We build laws to control our violence. We create art to express our pain. We raise our children to be kinder than we were. Yuna's eyes swept across the chamber. We are not peaceful. We may never be peaceful, but we are trying. A long silence followed. The elder races looked at each other. Some communicated in ways Yuna could not detect. Others simply sat and processed what they had heard. Finally, Haijin spoke. If your species is so powerful, so relentless, so capable of both destruction and compassion, why have you not conquered the galaxy? It was the question Yuna had been waiting for. The question that would determine everything. Because we know what we are, she said. We have seen what happens when humans decide to conquer. We have lived through our own holocausts and genocides and world wars. We have counted our dead and wept over the ashes of our mistakes. She stood straighter. We could probably conquer the galaxy if we wanted to. We could use our persistence and our endurance and our refusal to quit. We could hunt every species in the stars and never stop until we had won. Her voice hardened. But we choose not to. Because we have learned, through centuries of blood and tears, that conquest destroys the conqueror as surely as the conquered. We do not want to rule the galaxy. We want to live in it. We want to find friends and share stories and build things together. She looked at Velith. We want to stop being alone. The Arbiter's crystal form was almost completely dark now. When she spoke, her voice was barely audible. You frighten me, human. Not because of your strength or your endurance, but because you see your own darkness and walk forward anyway. That is called hope, Yuna said. No. Velith's form flickered with something that might have been sorrow. That is called being human. Around the chamber, delegations began to rise. Some whispered urgent messages to their homeworlds. Others simply left, unable to process what they had heard. Yuna stood at the podium and watched them go. She had told the truth. Now she had to wait and see what they would do with it. One by one, the platforms emptied. The elder races retreated to their ships and their private chambers, taking with them the knowledge of what humanity truly was. Some left quickly, almost running. Others moved slowly, as if in a daze. None of them looked at Yuna as they went. Within an hour, the great assembly hall was nearly empty. Only a few delegates remained. Haijin still floated in her water tank, watching Yuna with eyes that shifted like waves. Korath had not moved from his platform, his massive form hunched in what might have been deep thought. And Velith stood before Yuna, her crystal body dark and quiet. The session is concluded, Velith said. Her voice echoed in the empty chamber. You may return to your ship, human envoy. Thank you. Yuna stepped down from the podium. Her legs were tired. She had been standing for hours. May I ask what will happen now? Velith was silent for a long moment. Then she moved closer, her crystalline form catching the light in strange ways. I do not know, she admitted. In 10,000 years of history, the 12 elder races have never faced anything like this. We have fought wars. We have negotiated treaties. We have absorbed younger species and guided them toward enlightenment. She paused. But we have never met a species that we cannot understand. Until now. Yuna nodded slowly. Will you attack us? Try to destroy us before we become a threat? Some will argue for it, Velith said honestly. They will say that humans are too dangerous to exist. That your potential for destruction outweighs your potential for good. And what do you think? The Arbiter's form flickered with colors Yuna had not seen before. I think that any species that has survived what yours has survived, and still chooses hope, deserves a chance to prove itself. Thank you. Do not thank me yet. I am only one voice among many, and I am not certain I am right. Yuna smiled. It was a tired smile, but genuine. That is very human of you. Being uncertain and choosing hope anyway. Velith made a sound that might have been a laugh. Perhaps that is why your species disturbs us so much, You remind us of what we have lost. What do you mean? We were not always like this, Velith said. The Soroth were once much like humans. We struggled. We suffered. We grew through pain. But somewhere along the way, we chose to eliminate suffering from our existence. We became perfect, immortal, logical. Her form dimmed further. And in doing so, we lost something. We lost the ability to feel truly alive. To risk, to hope against reason. To love something so much that losing it would destroy us. You can find it again, Una said softly. Perhaps. Or perhaps we are too old. Too set in our ways. Velith turned to leave, then stopped. Una, may I ask you something? Of course. You're Dr. Taiwu Kim, the one who faced the Reaper Queen. What happened to him afterward? Una's expression changed. A shadow crossed her face. He survived, she said. His body recovered. His mind took longer. He still has nightmares. He still wakes up screaming sometimes. The Queen left marks on his soul that will never fully heal. And yet he is alive. Yes, he is alive. He got married last year. He has a daughter now. He named her Hannah, which means hope in our language. Velith was silent. He told me once that the hardest part was not the pain, Una continued. It was coming back afterward. Learning to live in a world that could never fully understand what he had experienced. But he keeps going. He chooses joy, even though he knows how much sorrow the universe contains. That is what makes humans terrible, Velith said. And wonderful. She turned and glided away, leaving Una alone in the empty chamber. Una looked around one last time. The great hall seemed smaller now that it was empty. Just a room. Just metal and light and silence. She had stood here and told the truth to beings older than human civilization. She had shown them exactly what humanity was. She did not know if it had been enough. The walk back to the bright tomorrow was long and quiet. The station's corridors were empty. Everyone was hiding, processing, afraid. Una walked alone, her footsteps echoing in the silence. When she reached the docking bay, her crew was waiting. Minho Jiang rushed forward, concern on his face. Captain, we monitored the whole session. Are you all right? I am tired, Una said. But yes, I am all right. She looked back at the station. Through the viewport, she could see lights flickering off in the distance. Delegations returning to their homeworlds. Ships departing into the darkness of space. How did it go? Minho asked. Una was quiet for a moment. They invited a human envoy, she said finally. And now they understand why their ancestors feared the dark. Minho frowned. Is that good or bad? I do not know yet. She walked toward her chair and strapped herself in. Fear can make people do terrible things. It can also make them think before they act. It depends on what they fear more, the unknown, or the consequences of their choices. The ship's engines hummed to life. The bright tomorrow rose from the docking bay and turned toward open space. What do we tell Earth? Minho asked. The truth. That the elder races now know what humans are. That some of them are afraid. That others might be curious. And that we have done everything we can to show them we are not their enemies. Will they believe us? Una thought of Velith, standing alone in the empty chamber. She thought of Haijin, watching with ancient eyes. She thought of all the beings who had fled in fear of a species they could not understand. Some will, she said. Others will not. That is the way of the universe. All we can do is keep being who we are. Keep choosing hope. Keep reaching out to those who are afraid. She paused. And keep proving that humans are worth believing in. The ship jumped to hyperspace. Stars stretched into lines around them. Earth was calling, wanting answers, wanting to know if the mission had succeeded. Yuna closed her eyes. She was so very tired. But tomorrow, she would wake up and keep going. Because that is what humans did. They endured. They hoped. They loved even when loving hurt. And maybe, just maybe, that would be enough dot behind them. The station harmony point grew smaller and smaller until it disappeared. The 12 elder races were alone with their fear and their uncertainty. They had seen humanity stripped bare. They had learned the truth about the species from the death world called Earth. Now they had to decide what to do with that knowledge. But in one small corner of the station, in a chamber of shifting water, Ambassador Haijin floated and thought about what she had witnessed. A human standing alone before the most powerful beings in the galaxy, speaking truth without flinching, showing strength through vulnerability. And she wondered, for the first time in her ancient existence, if maybe the universe needed more beings who could be broken and still choose hope. Outside the station, the dying star continued its slow collapse. And somewhere in the darkness, a small ship carried a tired woman home. She dreamed of a future where humans and aliens stood side by side. Not as masters and servants. Not as conquerors and conquered. But as friends thought, it was a beautiful dream. She would spend the rest of her life trying to make it real.